April next year, or not before then. That is the plan for Nigeria Air. That's what it's called. Hopefully, maybe in the coming days, we'll get to know the details of that. Well, let's dig into our first discussion tonight. The All Progressives Congress APC appears to be sure of one thing, and that is the fact that it will hold its national convention in February of next year. The President Muhammadu Buhari had approved the February 2022 for the conduct of the National Convention of the APC. The chairman of the Progressives Governors Forum and the Kebbi State Governor, Mr. Atiku Bagudu, announced these after his meeting with the president with some of his colleagues. According to Mr. Bagudu, the governors resolved that the convention should hold in February, and the same suggestion was proposed to the president for approval. Tonight, let's take a look at a lot of issues that are being tied to these. The issues of 2023, the issues of reconciliation of the party. One person that was also at that meeting with critical stakeholders, stakeholder in that meeting is the governor of Nasarawa State, Governor Abdullahi Sule, who joins us from Lafia, the capital of Nasarawa State. He joins us virtually. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. It's good to see you again. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. What brought about the decision for a February National Convention? How did it come about, that date?
Well, thank you very much, Shewan. As you have seen, the party actually has gone through the process of the congresses, at the ward level, local government level, and the state level, and everything has gone successful. However, in some states, such as Anambra, as well as the Zamfara, where there were security challenges, I think it is only now that the election is still going on, for the state congresses. So now looking at December, which is really a festive period with a lot of people traveling, with the Christmas coming, the New Year coming, having a convention at that moment is going to be a little bit difficult. So the discussion was looking at January. We thought it was going to be January, but in January we do have our own election in Ekiti State, for the primaries of the party. So as a result of that, the decision by the governors was actually to recommend the month of February, to Mr. President. So as our chairman, Bagudu, as well as the chairman of the party have said, because they were the ones who were supposed to go and discuss with Mr. President, to hear his views before discussion with other stakeholders. And then from the discussion, the president, based on the report I also saw, in the news, the president is amenable to it. So the principal is agreeing to the month of February. So he's also convinced that the month of February is feasible and is probably the right month for us to have the convention. That's the report we saw. You and I actually saw in the news, as was being conveyed by the chairman of our party and the chairman of all progressive governors, who we sent to go and discuss with Mr. President.
I assume that the convention now has a venue, probably you propose a venue, probably, which I think you will need a ratification of the NEC for the date and some other details. I assume that is going to hold in Abuja, isn't it?
Well, I think right now the whole idea was just to agree to the date. Even the exact date in February has not yet been agreed. I believe what is going to happen is that and as the president directed, all the other stakeholders that should be contacted. And going by what you just said, maybe holding a NEC meeting to ratify that is likely going to come. And the party will sit down and look at the possible date and the kind of committee that will carry on, as well as the venue. So right now, as far as the APC governors are concerned, we are waiting for those that we have sent to discuss with Mr. President to return and actually convey the message to us so that we can know where to go from there.
What about the plans or the arrangements over the issue of zoning of the offices? Has that been resolved? Was that part of the meeting at the PGF?
It was part of the meeting, but it was not really discussed yet, because the whole idea is to even agree to the convention. In fact, the only two items on the agenda on that day were just the idea of zoning, as well as the idea of us having a convention, So we finally agreed on the date of the month of the convention, but we have not yet discussed and agreed on the zoning arrangement. I think the next meetings will determine the direction for the zoning arrangement.
It does look like from the names of those who we have seen that have come out, thrown their hat in the ring and said that they want to be national chairman of the party, it does look like most of them are from the north central extraction of the country. For example, I know one man you'll be rooting for is a former Nasarawa state governor and the senator, your predecessor in Nasarawa State. I hope I'm right that you're rooting for him. Is that agreed? You said you have not decided, the party has not decided, but it looks like there is some kind of agreement, unwritten agreement, that the national chairman of the party should come from the North Central.
Yeah, Sean, to be honest with you, it has not yet been clearly agreed whether it should come to the North Central. It's just that if you look at the natural feeling, and then all the calls about zoning arrangement, presidency was going to rotate and this and that, with all those kind of things, that's the reason why people have come out in mass from the northern part of the country. It's not only North Central, like you said. We actually have, well, maybe roughly about three or four people, from the North Central, but we do have people from the Northeast as well as the Northwest, who are contesting for this position. And like you rightly mentioned, as a governor, I definitely have to take a position and say, well, for me, this is where I stand. But it's not a cast in stone. It's not saying that, it's just a natural, when there is such a contest, somebody will have to take a position and say, I support so and so. And I have my own reasons, for doing that. But it's not cast in stone, and it is not a decision of anybody. It's just my own decision here in the state. And then I think it's going to go down, with all the other governors, because one state cannot elect a national chairman.
So will you be going in the way of the PDP? Because PDP, they did majorly consensus. They agreed before the convention on, they already knew who was going to be their next national chairman. Is the APC thinking in that direction?
APC is not PDP, we cannot just copy what PDP is doing. But as a party, we sit down and look at all the things that will be best for the country, will be best for our party, and then we take that decision. We are concerned as a party, the direction, if everything that had been set up with Mr. President, will be sustained. So I think when the party is looking, it's going to look around and make sure that we have people who are credible, people who understand the party, who love the party, and who are going to stand by that. And this is actually both for the national positions as well as the presidency. I'm sure my colleagues and I will sit down at a later time and discuss all these issues and look at the right people that will be there. But it's just natural that the general feeling, amongst Nigerians, let me put it that way, but it's not all Nigerians, among most Nigerians that I know, the general feeling is that this presidency is likely going to rotate. And if it is going to rotate, then chairmanship also will rotate. And I think that's just what is happening. But there is no anything official about that has already established that. There is no discussion on agreement or anything among the stakeholders, on that.
Since body language seems to, adjoin, that phrase came into our political lingo in Nigeria recently, so we might as well take that context that it does look like the body language that we're seeing from the APC, if it's anything to go by, if most of the candidates that want to be chairman of the party are from the north, it does look like totally the party is thinking of getting a southern presidential candidate on its ticket. Is that true? Is that right? Can we say that?
No, that is possible. But as I told you, there is no decision on that. There is no agreement on that. There has never been any discussion on that, either among the governors or among the members of the party's NEC or among the members of the National Working Committee that I know, so at least if there are such discussions, probably I will know, but there are no such discussions. But what you are saying is what you think. Like I said, general feeling, amongst people, even within the PDP, like you mentioned, even though we are not going the direction of PDP, even within the PDP, from what you saw, they selected a chairman, from the North Central, so from the North, and then they say they are throwing the ticket open, for anybody from all parts of the country, So those kinds of arguments, you see them there. Politicians have some very funny kind of arguments, that we're waiting. We haven't made a decision yet, Sheun, before we can do that. And when such decision I made, I may not be the right person to even come out with it. We have the party structures that will mention it, and we do have the chairman of the APC Governors Forum, and then we have those who speak for NEC that are also going to speak on that.
I mean, I try to put my ears to the ground, especially what's happening within the political scene. And there were some talks about you having a heated argument or disagreement at that meeting. Could you clarify what really happened at that meeting?
Showing indeed you have your ears to the ground, you have to. You are running a show called Politics Today. So if you don't have your ears to the ground, who else will have it in Nigeria? But what I'm telling you here, and this is actually a very, very funny part of it. Every time I saw Lai Mohammed saying fake news, I didn't know what fake news was until now. What happened was we went into a meeting on that day and we discussed two issues, and that's it. Number one, about the date of the convention. When will there be date of convention? Number two, we discussed about the issue of will there be zoning, which exactly as I told you, again, which we didn't even agree on that, whether we're going to zone or not. So those were the only two issues. Throughout the period of the meeting, there was no discussion about direct or indirect. Zero. No discussion whatsoever. Secondly, there was absolutely no disagreement, between any two governors to the point of saying they were exchanging hot words with one another. Number three, the person that they say I had argument with, is one of the closest friends of mine among the governors, the governor of Kogi State. He is my neighbor. We do a lot together, especially on areas of security also. In fact, we call each other with nicknames. He was seated right there next to me. So one, there was nothing about direct or indirect that was discussed, nothing whatsoever. Secondly, there was no disagreement between any two governors at the meeting, nothing whatsoever. And especially between my good friend and I, nothing. So how did I even get to know about it? We had the meeting on Sunday. The following day, on Monday, I had meetings all day, up until 7 o'clock, that I went to the villa, to the banquet hall to attend a dinner, for the First Lady and the African First Ladies. I was seated there together with the governor of Jigawa and the governor of Kebbi, as well as the chairman of the Governors Forum, Governor of Ekiti. When now the governor of Kogi came in and pat me on the back and said, "Did you see what was in the social media?" I told him, I said, "I'm not on the social media, so I wouldn't know what happened. And even if I was, all day I was in different kinds of meetings." He said, "Somebody say you and I had a big quarrel." I said, "Where?" He said, "In the social media, that's what they say." I said, "I've not seen it." So it was there he started sending me some pictures. And it was only then that Governor Bagudu and I, as well as even Governor Badaru, get to know about it. So when Lai Mohammed says fake news, now I understand that is fake news. This is truly one of the most fake news that can ever happen, because it never, ever happened.
Now, you have an opportunity to clarify it. So that's why we use facts to kill fake news. So when there is stories that are not true, we use facts to kill it. So because before you know it, fake news actually become the real stories. So that's where you can.
Well, fact,
now we have the opportunity of speaking with you, so you can clarify. So what goes on the social media, it may not be the right story, but we are hearing from the horse's mouth in parentheses.
Yes.
Let's go to the real issues, though. If you said that there are no disagreements about the issue of direct primaries or indirect primaries, but it's obvious that the governors of the APC are on one side of the divide against the lawmakers, some of them in the APC and some of them outside of the APC. The lawmakers obviously unanimously or popularly in the National Assembly agreed to a direct primary mode of primary. But it does look like they have their way and you may have your say, but at the end of the day, isn't it democracy, Governor?
No, what is even funny at that moment is saying that the governors are against direct and the legislators wanted direct. That's another problem I think that we have about interpretation. I remember I was at board meetings, where it was discussed that the National Assembly was passing a law for indirect. And I think the extensive discussion then was, why would they do that? Why would they box us into just one option? How about if we have a problem like the COVID-19 where so many people could not meet? Why don't they give an option and say direct or indirect? That was what the governor said. That's the one I know. But you see, the way it was interpreted, like governors didn't want this. Governors were saying, why don't you have an option? And that's why now that they pass it, the governors are saying, that's fine. That's my understanding of it. Because I will tell you, when we started the congresses, at the ward level, it was direct. Every state conducted direct. So for like us in Nasarawa State, believe me, direct or indirect doesn't bother me. Which one you go, we'll go with it. We don't really care whether it was direct or indirect. We'll just go with that. But the idea is that why do you want to box yourself to say it is direct? How about, God forbid, if we have another situation like COVID-19 where they say no movement, no this, no that, so now you say, even though the party constitution says you can elect by consensus, direct or indirect. Now you say, no, you don't want any of those options. You only want one option. So the governors say, why do you want to box yourself? That was the question the governors were asking. But it was misunderstood to say that governors are against indirect. And that's why you see the governors, I understand, are quiet about it. If that is what the president will sign, well, please be my guest. Sign it, we go ahead and have it. So direct or indirect is something we go through every day. Every state that APC conducted our ward congresses direct. It was not indirect. It was only during the local government as well as the state that came on. That's when we started issue of consensus. But at the ward level, it's direct. And that's where the politics is. It's at ward level. So who is afraid of direct or indirect? A governor? Which kind of governor will be afraid of direct? You are not in control of your own state. People don't know you in your state. That you will be afraid of direct. It is somebody in Abuja that will not be afraid of direct. The whole thing doesn't even make sense. So governors are just saying, give us options. But if you say no option, go with this, please, let's go ahead. I think that's the but you see, locally for us in Nasarawa State, we don't even have any problem. So for us in Nasarawa, whether direct or indirect, we are there, we are ready. Let's go ahead. That's our own thinking around this part of the country.
We take a breather, Governor. But when we come back, there are one or two more questions I'd like to ask you, clarification about some of the names that we have saying in your party, the possibility of a presidential candidate in the APC. What's your take on that? And also, some of these national issues that have come to the fore in the last few hours. We get your take and your final thoughts. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Governor Abdullahi Sule is our guest tonight on the program, and the agenda of the APC is being our talking point. Thank you so much, Governor Sule, for your time tonight. Let's get to it. We've been hearing a lot of names recently in your party. The Lagos former governor, Bola Tinubu, the VP, Yemi Oshibajo, a host of others. And the PDP is actually watching your hands to see your next line of action. In fact, the plan of the PDP is fundamental. I think they have one plan, and the plan is to see that APC does not return in 2023. Are you aware of this PDP's plan? And are you doing anything at their strategy? Because as far as they're concerned, they're having a retreat. They have a watertight agenda of taking the APC out of prominence.
Well, Shaun, even if I didn't know, now I know. Usually I listen to you, every night, and I know that you have your ears to the ground, just like you said, and you are going to tell us what it is. But you see, politics is about planning. They plan and we plan. They plan and we plan. Do you think PDP wanted to hand over to APC in 2015? Or do you think didn't they want to take over in 2019? So it will not be anything new if they say they are planning to take over in 2023, because they had planned already 8 years ago and 4 years ago, and it has not happened. So as they are planning, we are also planning. And I think that's what politics is all about. So they plan their own, we are also planning our own. Our plan is not to be able to lose this election, in 2023. And that's everything that we are doing. That's why you see we are being very, very careful in our congresses. We're extremely careful in selection of the national officers. We are very, very careful in taking a decision. I think I have answered this to you in the past. And I said, rather than intimidation, the best thing that anybody who wants this power should do is to present themselves as credible, competent, people with integrity, people that have the capacity to take over from Muhammad Buhari and build on what he has already started. Once anybody has this rule and can meet all this, that's all. That person is going to take over. So, and then you will see all the governors. Today, at that meeting that I'm telling you 4 or 5 days ago that we had in Abuja, we had 22 states represented out of the 36 states, represented at that meeting. So these are the kinds of, so all these people will say, no, they are not going to, they are not planning. It's somebody who has less than 15 states that is planning. So I think those are the kind of things that you see. So plan or no plan, let them have their retreat, which is wonderful, and then we will have our own retreat when the time comes. I think that's the way politics goes.
For those who think that your party will struggle to be able to win election, that is going to be a uphill task. That's what some analysts are saying, for you to be able to come back after President Buhari's tenure in 2023, that your party will sweat it out to be able to get back to prominence. And we've been seeing meetings and closed-door meetings. Asiwaju Bola Tinubu is being in Abuja. We've seen him meeting. People are rooting for him. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo's name is being mentioned. A host of others are being mentioned. Orji Uzor Kalu's name has been mentioned. Rochas Okorocha's name being mentioned. Rotimi Amechi's name is being mentioned. Godswill Akpabio's name being mentioned. Well, you're heart of heart, because that's one reason why I like having a conversation with you, is because you're always very frank. What assurance can you give to Nigerians tonight that out of all of these names, one person that you think you can vouch for, that you think if your party go to the polls with, can defeat the PDP?
Well, all these people you mentioned are people who actually can lead this country. There is no problem about that. And all these people are committed members of the party. Are you talking of Tinubu, who is actually a national leader? Or you are talking of Mr. Vice President, who, as a matter of fact, has already shown leadership? I have been in meetings of NEC, and he has shown capacity and leadership and throughout those meetings. Or we are talking of some of these former governors, that have actually ruled for, they governed for 8 years at their various states. So every one of them, I don't want to take away anything from any one of them. Any one of them can come in and then be able to display and prove to the people for support. At the end of the day, it's Nigerians that are going to do that. It's not some retreat that is going to determine who is the president. It's Nigerians. Once you are able to convince Nigerians that this is the right thing, this is the right way, this is the proof, like we say in Nasarawa State, seeing is believing. So we are seeing what we are doing. We have seen what we have done. They have actually, they governed the country for 16 years. So the people have the opportunity to compare, and say, yes, this is that is this, and this is the right person that can do that. Nigerians are going to make the decision, and they are going to determine and go ahead and do that. So it is not some analyst, who sat down in the past and said Nigeria was going to break up by the year 2015 and then Nigeria is still here. Nigeria, nothing has happened to Nigeria, or some analysts that will say, by the year 2020, the world will come to an end, and year 2020 came. In fact, it's 2000, Y2K. So the year will come to an end in the year 2000, and nothing happened that night. So analysts can say whatever they want. But at the end of the day, the right thing is when it comes to election, Nigerians will make the decision, and the leaders will be able to convince Nigerians that this is exactly what is happening.
For the last next 60 seconds, the final 60 seconds I have with you, I'd like to get your take. I know it's going to be a tough decision for the APC-led federal government to remove subsidy, which a lot of people are saying. They said that will happen by June of next year. And the plan of 5,000. Would you say that's a right decision? And a critical year, 2022, a year preceding the 2023 election, is that the right step to take?
Well, you see, Sherwin, you have come into my territory now. As you know, I'm actually an oil and gas engineer. I work for one of the major marketers as a CEO. I started talking about subsidy in the year 2002, and that's where we are up till this moment. But since I have only 60 seconds, there is not much I can say on that. I will give you another opportunity, another time where we can discuss subsidy to know whether the one thing that I can tell you, Mr. President, is somebody who has the mind, the capacity to do what is best for Nigeria without fear or favor. He will do what is best for Nigeria. And if that decision is what is best for Nigeria, believe me, we have a president that has the capacity to do that.
Governor Abdullahi Sule, thank you so much. It's a pleasure talking to you again tonight. Thank you so much indeed for the time.